One. What's good, y'all? We're back at again the All Facts Mocap podcast, and I'm your host Horace Ricard. And I didn't really plan to make this. It's just more because I wanted everything I wanted all the free agency updates to be finished, then make my gradings on it. But since a lot of stuff has really happened, I kind of felt the need to talk about it more. So yeah, so we'll just start with the off-season signings so far. And I'll just go off with like this. I'll start off with the basic ones. So Mike Conley re-signed with the Jazz on a 3-year deal, and I believe it was 72 million. If I'm 72.5 million. And that's of course the Jazz really needed to do that because they're trying to contend right now. And Mike Conley was their best player at some nights. Although he is injury prone, because he was injured, I think, for the first 5 games of the second round against the Clippers. And I do think maybe if he played those 5 games, it would have been a bigger impact. But or he would have made a much bigger impact. But the Jazz really need to sign him. That was their number one priority this offseason. They did it already. And Tim Hardaway Jr. re-signed with the Mavs on a 4-year deal. I believe I don't know the money, but that's really good because Tim Hardaway was basically their second best player apart from Luka Doncic. So they needed Tim Hardaway Jr. was the sleeper in that Porzingis trade. So they needed to keep him. They need to keep him for sure. And Dwight Howard is signed with the Lakers, which is kind of obvious, and he does help their rim protection problems because last year they didn't really have a great interior presence. And Dwight Howard was good in the 2020 season when he was a part of a championship team. So it was great to get him back for the Lakers. And the Lakers are not done yet, but I'll go more in depth later. And Trae Young got, I believe, a 5-year, 207 million extension. That's like that's like the highest extension I believe in history, which is insane. And yeah, he deserves it. He led them in his first playoff run. He led them to the conference finals, and in the second season he averaged 30 and 10, which is insane. Yeah, Atlanta has a bright future with Trae Young. They didn't re-sign John Collins yet, which is actually I said they really before the free agency started. I said they shouldn't sign John Collins because he doesn't really fit with them anymore. And John Collins rejected his offer, and I don't think they should re-sign him because he doesn't really fit. He doesn't really fit well with their offense, and he's asking for quite a lot of money. So if I were Atlanta, I would sign him, and they haven't done it yet. So we'll see what John Collins turns out to. And Steph Curry signed a 4-year extension with the Warriors. That means the Warriors are trying to win now, of course, because they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose Steph and Curry, which is just insane. But why would you want to lose Steph Curry? Which I do think the Warriors should just make a trade ASAP, as they were able to add Nemanja Bjelica. I don't know how to say his name. Belichick. What? Okay, I'll just say the dude from Miami signed with the Warriors, named Nemanja Balenciaga. I'll just say. And they also added Otto Porter Jr. on a minimum deal. So those are really great wing players. And this more of a great depth signing, and that's what the Warriors really lacked last year. And those guys are definitely consistent. And that was a great signing for them. As also, Jeff Green signed with the Denver Nuggets of a 2-year, 10 million. 2 years for 10 million, and that's a really great L for the Nets, and that's a great dub for the Nuggets. The Nuggets got a really great role player. He can space the floor. He can play small ball center at times, but I don't know if he's going to play that in Denver. And yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. That was just a really great. That's a really great deal. That was a really great deal. They got him for relatively cheap. And Chris Paul re-signed with the Phoenix Suns. I don't know why I said that. I didn't come to that earlier, but Chris Paul signed with the Phoenix Suns, and that deal is going to be till he's 40 years old, I believe. and he's only getting paid like 120 million, which is a lot of money. But and I don't really know if and this was not really a surprise because I was expecting this to happen because I don't know why this team made the finals and then you just decided to leave them. And then like you might have and then you probably would if what other team would have probably signed him to that sort of money, and then he probably would have been in a much worse situation there. So I think it wasn't really a big surprise. And I'll touch on I'll touch on Blake Griffin resign or coming back with the Nets, which I know these are not that big, but like I'm just gonna have to say this. Blake Griffin was pretty good with the Nets. I don't know how he was bad in Detroit, and then he just decided to be all healthy. He decided to do dunks again, which you could say, oh, he didn't really have to deal with a lot of load on the Nets, which makes sense. But I don't know how he just magically just became a good role player for them. He wasn't really that good in Detroit, apart from like 2019, I believe, but he still wasn't good. And yeah, like the Nets had to add either Blake Griffin or Jeff Green. And they also got Bruce Brown back, which is pretty great, which is pretty great on their side. And I'll go to like the bigger signings, which was the Heat acquiring Kyle Lowry in a sign and trade. I don't know who the Raptors get, but Kyle Lowry going to the Heat, it really and oh yeah, they also restructured Duncan Robinson's deal and Jimmy Butler's deal. So Jimmy Butler will be making 50 million at the age of 36, and Duncan Robinson, I I believe he's getting 20 million a year each year. I could be wrong with that. Yeah, 5 year, 90 million deal. Yeah. So Duncan Robinson has the bag. And now what I really think of what Miami is doing, they also got Markieff Morris and they also got Markieff Morris and they also got what else? Well, they got another guy. I forgot his name. But okay, well, speaking on those three guys they re-signed and they got, this puts Miami back into contention. It just says the fact that Miami last year, they just weren't the same team. And now they have a good big three known as Jimmy, Kyle Lowry, and Bam Adebayo. And now they kept Duncan Robinson. And they still have Tyler Hero. I might have to add that. And they got Markieff Morris, who's a great 3-and-D wing, great 3-and-D wing. And I was posting on a story saying Miami Heat are trying to build, they're trying to build a great championship team again. I think that they still believe that Jimmy Butler can be that number one on a championship team, which I don't think he will. I don't think he will be, but I do think I think they will be a really great team in the Eastern Conference, as I think they are the team that's right behind the Bucks and the Nets. It's not that it's like they have Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler. Lowry brings that veteran experience, that championship experience. Duncan Robinson is such a great shooter. You're not going to let that guy go. And yeah, and I don't think the Heat are going to take the next step, but they are easily a better team than last year, and I do think they could make like an Eastern Conference run. But we'll see how time goes, and I'll give them their grade. And another thing I would like to say, oh wait, I forgot about the Knicks getting Fournier, Rose, and Nerlens Noel back. Or they got Fournier, and which was a pretty self-explanatory deal because they needed a lot more offense. But Fournier is not an amazing offensive player, so it can't. So like I don't know, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. And Rose was basically like their best player in the playoffs, and Nerlens Noel is a really great rim protector because Mitchell Robinson tends to be injury prone. And that's really all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say for that. And the Bulls, I called the Bulls the biggest winners of the offseason until the DeRozan thing happened. But before that, I said Lonzo Ball I really like the Lonzo Ball pick. I really like the Lonzo Ball pickup, as like basically everyone wanted to see that. It wasn't really official. Like basically everyone wanted to see that happen ever since like Lonzo and ever since Lonzo started popping up in New Orleans. And this is a really great move for Chicago as Arturas what's his Arturas the executive is Arturas Sarnate. Let me search it up. What's his name? Arturas. Wait, what the? No, not that. Okay, I don't know why it's hard to find. Arturas Karnisovas. That's your name. That's your name. Okay. Yeah, that's your name. Okay. That was really great pickup for him. As he's actually done a really good job for the past 3 years 2 years as a Chicago GM. He brought Nikola Vucevic to the trade time. He drafted Patrick Williams, and now he got Lonzo Ball, and he got DeMar DeRozan just now. What before Lonzo Ball would be really great for the Bulls, as now LaVine doesn't really have to worry about generating the offense, as Lonzo Ball can take that point guard role and be that facilitator. And LaVine can probably unlock his true potential, as last year he was averaging like 24 points, 27 points, I believe, 27 points off like 50, 40, 80 splits, which is insane efficiency. He was like that last year, and now Vucevic is back. So now Vucevic, and then but after they traded for Vucevic, LaVine started taking less shots. He started playing basketball. He started playing other aspects of basketball better as he started to step up on defense. It was a lot better when the Vucevic trade happened. They didn't make the playoffs, but now they have a full year with Alonzo, and now they have Lonzo Ball facilitating their offense. The DeRozan pick is the DeRozan signing is a pretty good signing. Just the only thing that's kind of weird about it is the fact that I don't know if DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic would fit well. It's just the fact that they all like to take like 20 shots a game. They all like to have the ball in their hands. And Lonzo honestly might not be very effective because DeRozan might be that playmaker facilitator role, as he's been like that for the Spurs. And now Lonzo is probably going to be more used as a spot up shooter, which is not going to make him very effective. However, the Bulls, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people say like the Bulls can make an Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know if that's the case here, because they're not better than the Nets. They're not better than the Heat. They're not better than the Bucks. And I would still pick Philly, even if Philly has Benson. I would still pick Philly over them. But the Bulls are trying to build a good playoff team, as they haven't been in the playoffs for so long. They probably just want to just probably have a good team set so that they can be contenders in the Eastern Conference. And I do believe those signings were really good for them. However, I think the fit might be a lot worse than we think it is, but I still think the Bulls are really a lock to be a playoff team. And also a sleeper part of the Bulls, they signed Alex Caruso to a 4-year deal. Very great rotational piece. He can be like a backup point guard behind Lonzo Ball, which is pretty solid. That's great signing for them. And the fact that I'm talking about free agency, I have to talk about the Lakers. The Lakers signed Carmelo Anthony and got traded for Russell Westbrook. They got Ariza, Ellington, Bazemore, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk. They even brought back Talen Horton-Tucker, who probably won't play, but they still brought him back. And they also brought back Dwight Howard, which I said earlier in this podcast. This is just insane. Before when I was actually speaking about this too, I was talking about how Westbrook the spacing on that team wouldn't be great. Westbrook is not that great of a 3-point shooter. And LeBron shouldn't be your best 3-point shooter, that's kind of a red flag. But the fact that they brought in Ellington, Malik Monk, Carmelo Anthony, Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Kendrick, I don't know how. I don't know how they were able to bring in this much talent. Ellington's a pretty great floor spacer. So is Ariza at times. At times, not anymore. Is how he wasn't effective as he was on the Rockets, but he is okay, and he doesn't really have to worry as much. And Malik Monk's a pretty good one. Kendrick Nunn's also pretty good. I would feel like a lot of them would need the ball in their hands to be effective, but a lot of them would also be used as spot up shooters because of Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. And some of them will be bench pieces, of course, but some of them will probably be in the starting lineup. I don't. I'm not really gonna give a grade because I don't know if the Lakers are done because everyone is basically signing with them right now, and I believe they also got they got a lot of pieces. They got a lot of pieces. I gotta go to I gotta go to Adrian Wojnarowski to see if they signed another player. And okay, I don't know if it's okay, but no, that basically everyone is signing with the Lakers, and it's just really a lot of. I do have the Lakers as contenders. Of course, they're contenders. If you have LeBron on the team, of course you're contenders. But I like what the Lakers are doing. I think they are winning the offseason by a lot, by a huge margin, to be completely honest. But the fact I do think they made this Russell Westbrook trade a lot better now. They made it a lot better now. Now I do believe they can possibly win the finals. The fact is I still don't know about how they would play in the playoffs, of course, and I don't know how these talented group of individuals, apart from a lot of them needing the ball, like Melo, Malik Monk, and Kendrick Nunn. But it's really hard to just vote against this team. This team has completely just turned it. This team just completely turned it around. They just completely turned it around. Like before, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they're not going to be as good because Russell Westbrook and LeBron don't work with each other." And then now it's just like, oh, because of these signings, everyone's like, "Okay, yeah, Lakers are probably going to win the championship." And yeah, I do have that. I would probably still pick the Nets over the Lakers because they did bring back Bruce Brown. They did bring back James Johnson. Dinwiddie hasn't really said anything, but I heard rumors about him to the Washington Wizards. But we'll see when the time comes. And it's just really this is really insane. This was really an insane offseason as how the Lakers have just basically are signing everyone there is. I'm actually gonna talk about the most underrated free agency parts as like I did talk about the Lakers, but I'll probably talk more about each of what contending teams have made. As Philly, they brought Andre Drummond, which is I don't know why they did. I don't know why they did. I just won't talk about it. Andre Drummond. I'm not a big fan of Andre Drummond. He is basically a 70s player, and I don't think he easily does not fit in today's NBA. And out they're easily using that as depth, but I don't know why they signed him, even though because the spacing is horrible, he won't help them as much. I don't know what Philly's front office is doing. They're looking worse as the season goes on. And Rudy Gay signed with the Utah Jazz. As Rudy Gay can be a really great wing player. He's pretty good two-way player, and he can come off the bench, and he did a pretty good job with the Spurs. And that's all I really got to say. That's all I really got to say. As Utah, they definitely all want to get better. And I do think they should really just make these moves so that Donovan Mitchell can stay. And he has to, because I do believe when the time comes, if Utah doesn't really do anything, Donovan Mitchell might consider leaving the Jazz. And I don't want that to happen. Although I don't like Utah, I hate Utah. I hate Utah's team. I hate the Jazz. I don't. I want to see Mitchell succeed in Utah. And if you're bringing Rudy Gay, who's a pretty great bench piece, I know he probably won't do anything to bring them over the hump, of course, but I think it's a good start. I think it's a good start. They brought back Mike Conley and they brought Rudy Gay, which is not a bad thing. Also, the Heat signed PJ Tucker. That's also a really great floor spacer. Really, basically a guy, a dog on the court. He can fight for the ball. He can block shots, guard your team's best player. He does a lot of things. Does a lot of things well, and he's probably the best corner three in the corner best 3-point shooter in the corner in NBA history. Pretty great. And I also got to talk about Shai's extension as he got signed with a 5-year, 172 million. That's a pretty good deal considering 172 million divided by 5 is probably 34 million a year. It's pretty good. That's a really good offer. As he definitely deserves that money. As last year, he had a really great season. And he had kind of an underrated season. In one of the worst situations, he was able to put up 23 points off like 62 true shooting percentage, which is great for a man that's 23 years old. And I am actually going to talk about one team. That is the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion Williamson is probably going to leave this franchise like anytime soon. But Lonzo Ball, they should have kept Lonzo Ball. I don't know why. I had the Pelicans as a winner in the draft, but I thought they were going to keep Lonzo Ball. That's why they would have been a lot better. They probably would have made the playoffs this year. But now Lonzo Ball is gone. They went with Devontae Graham, or however you say his name. He is a really great player. Don't get me wrong, and he can space the floor. But Lonzo was better with Zion Williamson. Kyle Lowry would have been better with Zion Williamson, and Chris Paul would have been better with Zion Williamson. As those three targets were of the Pelicans, or what the Pelicans front office wanted to keep Zion in New Orleans, and that didn't happen. Like that didn't happen at all. They stuck with Devontae Graham. It's over. Zion's leaving. I don't even know if the Pelicans can make the playoffs anymore. But Zion probably will average like 30 points this year. I wouldn't even be surprised. He averaged 27 with the worst spacing. So yeah, I don't think Zion's staying with the Pelicans. As Devontae Graham's really great, but Lonzo would have been way better for them. As the Zion even wanted Lonzo himself. That's just what it is. And I'll actually got to talk about Norman Powell signing a 5-year, $90 million deal. Norman Powell is a really great player, but this really makes no sense at all because the reason why they got Norman Powell was because they didn't want to trade. They didn't want to pay Gary Trent Jr. And he also signed for an extension. I forgot how much money it was, about $54 million for 3 years. So the Raptors are paying him. The Raptors are paying him $18 million a year, and the Blazers are paying Powell $18 million a year. Yeah, so it really makes no sense. They went for the same amount of money. You decided not to pay one of them, and you got they're basically the same player when you really think about it. Like the Gary Trent is basically a young Norman Powell. I don't know why they decided to let him go like that. And Norman Powell, like, he was really great, but Portland, you got to trade CJ McCollum. There's no way you're going to keep Norman Powell, and you want to keep Dame, of course, but you got to trade CJ McCollum. And you also brought in, I believe, Cody Zeller and a good wing player in, I forgot, and the good wing player in Tony Snell. So you have to trade CJ McCollum. But Norman Powell is a really great player, but Gary Trent is basically a younger Norman Powell who probably has higher upside, to be completely honest. And he went with the same amount of money, just 2 more years. I don't know why Portland really traded Gary Trent in the first place. I'm just going to say. And as a Houston Rockets fan, Daniel Theis to the Rockets, I don't really know why they did that, because it is a 4-year, $36 million deal, so it's $9 million yearly. But I don't really know why, because they drafted Alperen Sengun. They have Christian Wood at the center already. I don't know if Daniel Theis will play. Maybe he plays more of a small ball center role as he did for the Celtics. I don't know because I believe Alperen Sengun would have been a lot better even as a rookie. But even a lot better as a rookie is because I will say he's like a dark horse rookie of the year candidate, but I don't know. I don't really understand this. I don't really understand this. Yeah, I don't really understand this. As if they use him as this, I wonder what the last 2 years are like because I think one is a team option, one is a player option. If I'm not, I don't even know if it is, but I do believe it is that. So maybe if they like him to a good, if they like him for a good 2 years, then they'll probably keep him back and then make him decide for himself. But I don't, I don't know if this is a really great thing. I don't know if this is a really great thing to do. I do believe he could guard like he could guard centers like really good centers like Joel Embiid as he did with the Celtics. But I don't know why the Houston Rockets signed him because for a team that's trying to rebuild and just have and just take in no not take in just team that's trying to rebuild, build their young core, make them have just make them tank for high draft, make them just play, develop chemistry, develop develop the culture. Maybe they brought him in as like a veteran to lead to mentor. Maybe they brought Tice as a mentor to Alperen Şengün, and they needed a defensive minded presence to help that young core like Christian Wood and Alperen Şengün. But I don't know if this was the right the right signing to do. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like I do think Daniel Tice is a really great piece, but he's probably better in a championship team in a team that's trying to win a championship rather than a team that's trying to rebuild. As the Rockets also re-signed David Nwaba and let go of Sterling Brown to the Mavericks. Mavericks got Sterling Brown. Sterling Brown was a pretty good three and D wing, but the Rockets are trying to get younger, so it wasn't great to bring him back. Nwaba was pretty great on defense last year. I don't know if it was really great to bring. It was good to bring him back. I don't know why it was really great to bring him back. They need that veteran defensive presence, as I just said. Nwaba brought that last year, and you'll probably bring that this year, especially to this young team. So I really like that. I really like to see. I really like that, and I think that's really all I'm gonna say here because I don't know what I don't know like what else there's there to talk about. I do think the Kings actually have done a pretty good job this offseason. They brought in Mo Harkless, a good wing player, a Richaun Holmes. They brought back Richaun Holmes, really great. But that's really all I gotta say. That's really all I gotta say. The Kings have been doing a pretty good job too, as that's what I'm talking about right now. I don't know, but that's all I really gotta say about this. And I'll probably make a much better. I'll probably have a guest over to talk about the free agency stuff with me. If you want to talk about it, maybe shoot me a DM. But we'll see. We'll see about it. But I think that's all I gotta say for this podcast, and that's really it. And I'm probably gonna upload something tomorrow too, because I'm recording 2 episodes at once. So all I gotta say is I'm Harsh Vikar. It's All Facts No Cap podcast. Next episode, I'll probably talk about the grades, make free agency finish. And that's really what I'm gonna do. Yep. This is All Facts No Cap podcast. And I'm Harsh Vikar.